Yeah, you got Charlie, yes. I love that name. So we have so much in common, you and I. We're all women, okay, other than you guys, right? We're women, we're over 50. We're in the top 10% of all women golfers in the world. If you have a handicap under 14, if you have a handicap under 5, you're in the top 2% of all women golfers in the world. That's pretty big.
Yeah. Huge.
What else we have in common is we know the exact GPS location of every bathroom on property before we tee off. That would be 6T, 14T, on 10 there's luxury locker rooms, and then you have upstairs and downstairs in the clubhouse. You're welcome. Most of us grew up in the 70s and 80s, and we experienced things like rock and roll, big hair, perms, blue eyeshadow. That's what I did. Done. Okay. I drove around in tournaments. I had on the front seat of my car were maps, road maps for every state. Right? So you cross the border, you're like thumbing through, like Georgia, up Georgia. Next thing you know, you're through Georgia, South Carolina. Where's my South Carolina now? Right? That sat on a box of cassette tapes that I plugged in. We had to listen to the whole damn cassette. We couldn't have no playlists. Right? Also with my classic FootJoy shoes with metal spikes. Who had metal spikes? Yeah. There's days I miss that noise. There's days also I go to a professional event and you hear them. You're like, who's wearing metal spikes? They pull them out of the basement. They go spectate at a professional event with metal spikes. It happens. Right? But, so this is the thing that I want to tell you. We also have in common something that you're going to have tomorrow called first tee jitters. Right now, I'm a little bit nervous and anxious, and tomorrow you're going to be a little bit nervous and anxious. What's going to happen is you're going to feel your heart might palpitate, your fingers might tremble a little bit, you might sweat, or your stomach might flip. It's totally normal. And it's nothing, this is not a problem. This is just your brain trying to warn you that you might be in danger. Right? You're getting the back of your brain. Your primitive brain is designed, just like from caveman days, to look for saber-toothed tigers. And what you're looking out there for are saber-toothed tigers. We don't have them anymore, but what we have is we have social pressure and emotional pain, and your brain perceives it the same way. So what's going to happen is your brain's going to start talking to you. Right? It's going to get busy. It's going to say things like, what the hell am I doing here? Oh my God, this is the real deal. Right? It's like, wait a minute, I totally forgot my swing putt. What am I going to think? What's my thinking? Am I hitting driver here? There's people down the fairway. Are those stakes? I don't remember seeing those stakes. Like, am I off first? Am I off second? Oh, I'm playing with Betty. I can already tell Betty talks too much. And so our brain is going to chatter. I hope there's no Bettys. I always use Betty. Are there any Bettys? Betty is my go-to name. So what we're going to do is we want to try and quiet our brain down, because where you want to play from is the front part of your brain. And when we're in the front part of the brain, that's where we can focus and we can think clearly and we can make decisions. But when we're in the back part of our brain, it's designed that way because we get into a little bit of a fight or flight. And we're designed not to have access to the front part of our brain. That works for us. We don't need to go negotiate with that saber-toothed tiger. We need to get the hell out of there, right? But this is what happens, is that you're going to forget and not focus. So you want to try and quiet that brain down. So I'm going to give you 3 tactics right away to help you with your first tee jitters tomorrow. The first thing that I heard from Tiger Woods, which I like and I adopted, is that the last shot that you want to hit on the driving range is your driver. You're going to pretend you're on the first tee. On the first tee, Betty, right? You're going to go through the motions. You're going to grab your ball and your tee. You're going to plug it in. You take your practice swings. Plug it in. We plug it in. You know what I mean? Right? You're going to go through your motions. You're going to take your practice swing. Go through your pre-shot routine. You take your swing. You're going to hold your finish. You're going to pose. You tap your hat to the crowd and carry on. By the time you get to the first tee, that's actually your second tee shot. Right? So it calms your brain down just a little bit. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to breathe. And I know breathing, yeah. You're going to breathe this way. You're going to count in to a count of 5, slowly. You're going to hold your breath for a second, and then you're going to exhale. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The act of counting backwards helps you get to the front part of your brain. Your brain is going to still chatter. You're going to say, Betty's still talking. Right? And you're going to do it again. If that still doesn't work, then what's gonna happen is you're gonna do, and this, you're gonna like this, my clients love this. You're gonna take, you can do it right now, you can take your thumb and your index finger and you're gonna rub it together ever so slightly and so slowly that you can feel all the prints on your fingertips. And you have to do it slowly enough that you feel that. Right now you're probably focusing on me and my amazing dress, right? And so it's hard for you to be quiet. So you might want to practice it in your room with your eyes closed. If that doesn't work, you might take your fingertips and run them down your palm. You're gonna feel all the grooves on your palm. Right? And you're gonna go, I have my freaking glove on, that's not gonna work. So then you can feel the Velcro maybe on the back of your glove. The idea is that you're gonna feel something, and to feel it with such intensity and feeling all the texture, all the indentations or whatever you're feeling, brings you up back to the front of your brain. You can start to focus a little bit, right? This will at least give you something fun to talk about tomorrow when you're all out there doing this. Right? You can also, I also encourage my clients to grab a golf ball. Like while you're out there and you're waiting, you're a little bit nervous, take your golf ball, just feel all the dimples on the golf ball. Your mind starts to get busy on you and helps you get back to the front part of your brain. Right? And so now your brain is going to start to quiet down a little bit. Right? You're like, okay, I can think a little bit. You're going to say, listen, I got this. I belong here. Let's go. And you go up there, you go through your routine, you're going to take your drive, you're going to tap your hat, and you're going to walk on. So this is the thing. Feeling like you belong is a big part. And as women playing this sport, especially for me, it sometimes has been hard to believe that we belonged in this game. For me, my dad was a golf pro. I grew up at clubs since I was 7. I showed up at the club at the Ask Crack of Dawn, and I pulled up the carts, I pulled up the clubs, and I helped him get ready for the day. I spent the whole day in there, and I stayed out there until he went home at the end of the day. And through all the things that I've been through, I chose to believe that I belonged in this game, even though there wasn't evidence that I belonged. So sometimes some of the clubs that my dad belonged at, they had men's grill rooms. Right? Like, they still exist, men's grill rooms, they're still around. My husband works at a club called Carmel Country Club in Charlotte, big, amazing men's grill room. Right? And I used to go in and I'd help this woman in the kitchen, her name was Judy, and I'd help her prep vegetables and the ham salad and all the stuff for the day. And I always just think, what are they doing in there in the men's grill room that I don't belong? And I could sit there and I'd chop the vegetables and I had a keen eye on the door going in and out of the men's grill room. And I was like, what are they doing? They must be naked, like with one water, like a towel around their neck, naked, sitting in a captain's chair, eating a turkey club. Like, why? Like, why don't we belong in there? So I'd scan like the waitresses coming in, looking for like this look of horror and trauma on their face. I'm like, they look fine. I'm like, why don't I belong in the men's locker room? I'm just not until Sunday at 2. I don't get it. When I played on the European tour, my friend Kelly Stenzel and I, we had a day off, and they recommended that we go to this club in the south part of England that we could play on Monday. And we went and played that golf course, but I had to walk past a sign that said no dogs or women allowed. I took a picture of that with my Kodak camera, right, that I printed out at a special store, and I put in a box. It's in my attic somewhere. Right? Because we didn't have the luxury of taking it with our phones. And I was like, why? Like, why don't we belong? Also, the clubs that my dad belonged to, there were special tea times. Like the men played on Wednesday, or the doctors played on Wednesday, right? Doctors all played on Wednesday. The guys, they had Saturdays and Sundays until noon or 2 o'clock. Right? The women could play on Thursdays. When I turned pro, Arnold Palmer was amazing. He's amazing to people like me who are trying to make a living playing golf, and he gave me a membership to Bay Hill. Me and another woman, and a bunch of guys. I always love hanging out with the guys. And we were like a little group out there. We were the people that Arnold Palmer gave memberships to. But on Saturdays at Bay Hill in Orlando, women couldn't play until noon when I was there. So all my buddies would go out and play, and I stood on the front porch, which overlooks the first hole on Bay Hill. And I stand next to the director of golf. His name was Dick Titty. Double D. Yeah. His wife's name was Bitsy Titty. Triple D. Yeah. So I stood there and we watched these men from another country tee off, and they all topped the ball. Now, nothing against people from another country, but they didn't have access to play and have access to golf courses, so they just stay in the lodge. Let's go play. Like all they've done is been to a range. And I stood there next to Mr. Tiggy and I said, why can they go play and I can't play? Is it because I have boobs? Single D. And he just nodded and he walked away. I'm happy to say that rule eventually changed, going forward. They changed, they allowed women to play just because basically they stayed in the lodge. But I chose to believe that I belonged in the game, even though there wasn't evidence that I belonged. And that's much like golf. We have to believe without the evidence that we can do it or that it's going to happen. And this is the thing about beliefs. Beliefs are just thoughts that we think over and over again. We have 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and they're optional. If we listen to the thoughts that we think on the first tee and we grab onto them, we're not going to get the results that we want. So we need to think and believe intentionally. My brother has played on the PGA Tour his whole life. He was the #1 junior in the country. And I'm helping his son, who plays for the University of Florida, play to his potential and get out of his own way. And my brother said to me, and I just learned this summer, which kind of blew me away, he goes, I don't get it. What's wrong with these kids? I just used to believe I was the best player in the field. It's like, I used to believe I was never going to be a good putter. And we were both right. And that's the thing about beliefs, right? We prove them true. So he would go out and he'd play in a tournament, he goes, I won. Of course I did. I go out and play in a tournament, hit 15 greens, shoot 75, and be like, of course I did. Right? So what I want to offer to you today, first I want to say why beliefs matter or why thoughts matter is because the thoughts that we have produce our feelings and emotions. And why do emotions matter? Is because you play your best golf as an athlete here in a state, your preferred state. You can ask yourself what that is. For most people, I call it the 3 C's. You either want to be calm, certain, or confident, or a synonym to those. I add focus in there every once in a while, but usually we focus when we're calm. We focus when we're up here. Anytime you're hitting a golf shot, when you're not in one of those 3 C's, you're not taking all of your talent out on the golf course. Your goal is to get yourself back into that state. How do you get yourself back into that state? It's from what you think, from what you decide to think. I had a thought, I went to a ton of sports psychologists, I had a thought that kept me from playing to my potential. It's why I do what I do right now. I love it. I really don't spend a lot of my time teaching golf. I did that for a number of years. Now I help people take all that talent out onto the golf course by managing their mind. Right? So what you believe produces how you feel. How you feel allows you to be able to move the body the way that you want, because our emotions, just like first teachers, show up in our body. They're just vibrations. Right? When you're anxious or nervous or stressed or pissed or frustrated or disappointed, they show up in your body. They're going to show up as a vibration, whether tension in your arms or whatever you do, and you're not going to be able to take your best swing. So your goal is to get into the best state, your preferred state that you can. So what I want to do with you is I'm going to give you 3 different areas that you might be able to gain some insight on ways that you might hold yourself back during this tournament. 3 common areas that I work on with my clients. One is you're going to have thoughts about your skill in the round, right? So you're going to have thoughts about your shots. Like I had thoughts about my putting. I didn't notice it. I didn't notice it for decades later. I had an epiphany walking, like, oh my God, that's why I never putted well, because I believed I didn't putt well, right? But you're going to have things that we need to shine a light on those thoughts. We need to take an exam of those thoughts. So you're going to have shots, or you're going to have thoughts about the different things that you're going to do tomorrow. Could be the round, weather, your tee time, your pairing. It could be different holes on the golf course, the course conditions. You want to clean it all up. I call that the junk drawer technique. So just like if you had a junk drawer in your house, but you'd have a lot of stuff in it that you don't necessarily need, and you look at it, you might have a broken pencil, a broken rubber band, an old ticket stub to movies, definitely pre-COVID. Right? You might have an old Alabama football ticket. We just don't get rid of those, do we, Riley?
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Roll Tide. Right? So we don't get rid of those. But what you're going to do is you're going to take that drawer and you're going to empty it out. And you're going to sort through it and you're going to decide what I need, what I don't need, and what I might need to repair. And you want to do that with your thoughts as well. Right? So what you do is you're going to dump your thoughts out. I like what Laura said, that's so helpful. She writes her thoughts down. You want to get your thoughts out. You can't read the label from inside the bottle. You gotta get your thoughts out. What do I think about everything? And then you decide, do I want to keep it? I love my driver. I feel pretty good on my driver. Awesome, keep it. Right? Then you want to decide what you don't want to keep. That he talks too much, and I don't like freaking shoes. I agree with that thought, that it's not good, it's taking up space you do not need in your head. Or do we have a thought that we need to repair, mend a little bit? So maybe you have a thought about a hole that you might need to mend. I just said, well, this doesn't suit me. That thought doesn't suit you. You want to mend that thought. For me, it was putting. Right? I'll never be a great putter. So how would I mend that? How would I slightly repair that? What I did was, it's possible I could putt well today. Some days I putt well. I can putt well one day. Right? Any of those things feel better than thinking I'm not a good putter. Right? Because it's about your emotions. Thinking I'm not a good putter feels crappy, feels defeated, feels doubtful. But if I can get anywhere better than that, that's going to be helpful. So you want to repair those thoughts just a little bit, and then you decide what you want to put back into your brain. The second thing is that you might have thoughts about what other people think. And I coach people from 7 to 70, CEOs, lawyers, attorneys, retirees, junior college players, all of them worry about what other people think. I was so enamored with Lee Westwood this past spring and how well he was playing, and I was just listening to all the quotes that he was saying in the news, and he talked about how he was having fun, and he decided to quit worrying about what other people thought. It's like, Lee Westwood was stop worrying about what other people thought. Right? It's part of our nature is to worry about what other people think, just because we're tribal and we want to be connected and we don't want to get kicked out of the crowd. But this is what I tell you, if you have people standing behind the green, you have people back at your club, and you're worried about what other people think, what you think they're thinking is often a reflection of your thoughts about yourself. So let me give you a middle school example. I had 3 daughters in 3 years. 2 of them went to the University of Alabama.
Roll Tide.
Okay. And in middle school, the mean girl years, right? One of them, I don't know which one it was, came home crying, right? I said, "Why are you crying?" I was probably a little more sensitive than that. "Why are you crying?" And she would say, "Betty said I was stupid and ugly." And I said, "She did? Like, did she call you a cantaloupe?" Like, "Mom, no, she didn't call me a cantaloupe. That's dumb." I'm like, "Well, I mean, why?" She goes, "Because I'm not a cantaloupe." I'm like, "Yes, of course, you're not dumb or stupid either, right? You're not stupid or ugly either, right? It is your reflection on yourself." Now, if people come out and say those words out loud, right, those are things that we imagine people are saying, but if people come out and say those words out loud, that's a reflection on their thoughts about themselves. So that's something that you can have in your back pocket. And this is the other thing that I want to tell you, is that you are USGA freaking championship participants.
Woohoo!
You had a choice to pick courage or comfort, but you can't have both. And you pick courage. And unless people have walked in your shoes, or the people who have walked in your shoes will not judge you. Right? Which is important to know. And the people who have not walked in your shoes, you really don't care what they have to say, because they have not put themselves into the arena. And Brene Brown says it best. She says, "If you're not in the arena, also getting your ass kicked, I'm not interested in your feedback." The third area where our thoughts can get in our way and hold us back and keep us from playing to our potential is we have thoughts about our score, whether it's in your match or at your stroke play score. We start thinking about it ahead of time. And I just want to let you know, this is super common, right? All golfers start getting ahead of themselves, start adding up the score, right? And you just want to keep redirecting your brain to being present, to being calm and certain and confident and not getting ahead of yourself. When I quit playing for a living and I joined the LPGA, all PGA and LPGA members know that they have to take a playing ability test. And so I went out, and you have to basically, when you take a playing ability test, some of you will know this, you have to just beat a number. So I had just come off playing for a living. I don't think I had shot over 75 in competition in a year. Right? So I was like, I think my number was 83. Not a problem. I said, not a problem. Until I got to 13. And I was 2 over par. And I'm like, 2 over par. I got 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I go double, 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 double. Like, okay, I got this. And then I bogeyed. Right? I'm like, wait. And I go double, double, double. No, I need to make a boat. I was like, what am I doing? And such an odd way to think about it. That's why so many people, especially I think the guys have a harder time than the women, get the women's numbers a little bit higher. But it just, they don't want a bunch of hacks in there playing, representing the sports. They want to know that you can play. But I think it's so hard when we put a number out there and then we try and beat that. But we do that to ourselves, right? When we play in tournaments, you're going to have a number in your head. You're going to think, I need to beat this number. You want to stay present and focused and keep redirecting your brain. Stay where you are. Don't get ahead of yourself. Just know it's common. Just say, thank you, brain. I know you're trying to help me. And not a big deal. The other reason that we think about our results is because of what you make the results mean. So you shoot a number, maybe you don't like that number, and then we have thoughts about that number, right? I screwed up. I'm not very good, right? This is embarrassing. And then it's how those thoughts feel: crappy, disappointed, ashamed. And we go out during the round and we play, and it's like playing with a Gore-Tex rain suit on. Remember those? The things that didn't move. I hate playing those. Right? It's like playing with a coat on. Your talent is underneath it, or you're wearing this raincoat that keeps you from playing to your potential. Because you're protecting yourself about how you're going to feel at the end of the round if you don't play well. Your superpower skill is to have your own back and to be willing to experience any emotion, knowing it's just a vibration in your body, just like first tee jitters. I can handle it. It's no big deal. I know it's coming from a thought, but you have to have your own back. You have to know you're enough and that you're worthy and that you are not your golf score. It is not about you. You're bigger than that. So when you start feeling that pressure of what you're making that score mean about you, just understand what you're trying to do is avoid a feeling. And when you're willing to experience that feeling, then there's nothing that you're not willing to do. You get that bring it on attitude, that bring it on feeling. So what I wanted to share with you today were a couple of things. One, knowing that you're going to have first tee jitters, and it's not a problem. You can still make a good swing when you have first tee jitters, right? Just use some of the tactics that I gave you to help you with your first tee jitters, or anytime you're nervous during the round. Also know that you get to decide what to believe, and you have to believe on purpose without the evidence, without the proof. My brother and I grew up in the same family. I'm like, how the heck do you get that thought? And I got the frickin' putter thought. That's not fair. And understand that you want to be in a state of one of the 3 C's: calm, certain, and confident. One of those, or a synonym of those. You get to decide what it is for you and how you play your best golf. And your goal is the more you can get into that state, the better you're going to be able to play, the more potential you're going to take out into the golf course. You're going to have thoughts you want to clean up about your round, about the score. Every day, it's going to change. Your parents going to change. I have thoughts about the person I'm playing, thoughts about my tee time, all of that. Clean it up. Clean up your thoughts. Shift it to something that feels a little bit better. You're going to have thoughts about what other people think. We're done with that already, aren't we? Right? Enough of that. And then you're going to have thoughts about your results. A lot of times that's the biggest work, right? Because that's about our thoughts about us and our worthiness and our enoughness. So you can answer this to yourself. If you had to answer on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your belief that you'll make the cut and get into match play? On a scale of 1 to 10, what is your belief that you'll be in the finals of this tournament? And if it's not a 7 or 8 or higher, what do you need to believe, or what do you need to stop believing to get it there? Because you are not your golf game, and you belong in this room. You belong in this tournament, you belong in that golf course, you belong in match play, you belong in the finals. Right? You got this, let's go. Congratulations for being here.